His abuse led to my mom's death, so I took his house. I am 34F, my mom was 55F, and my now ex-stepdad is 65M. They co-owned the home as joint tenants, and everything they had together was 50-50 at this point in time. Let's call my ex-stepfather L. So my mom and L had been married for 16/17 of a year. There has always been questionable behavior, but it's none of my business, as I moved out at 18. Well, at 27 I decided I wanted to go to college to better myself. My mom and L both agreed and offered me and my small family the basement apartment of their home. 1.5 years into my program, my mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, a week before she was due to have surgery to remove the tumors. One of the big ones ruptured. One thing led to another and my mom's cancer spread. She gets re-diagnosed with different cancer. It's rare and it's in the connective tissue. She gets given a 2-year estimate without treatments. Now this is where L starts becoming abusive. He is at this appointment with my mom and has a full-blown tantrum. Note: I have my mom's medical notes and a doctor who note all of this. This is important later, and says that his wife won't be doing shit. He storms out of the room and my mom then tells this doctor, also put in the medical note, that she fears for her life, because she knows if she doesn't do the treatments, she will die, but she also knows that L won't let her. L becomes abusive. He starts becoming verbally, mentally, and physically abusive. He drained their joint bank account so my mom couldn't even buy herself bread, cut the brake lines on her car, and more, and did everything in his power to stop her from doing treatments. Let's say she had treatments twice a week, every week. She would maybe be able to get to half of these if my spouse or myself drove her. My mom ended up moving into my unit in the basement, and I started defending my mom against him. I told him, if he didn't stop, I would be doing everything in my power to ensure that he is held responsible for her death. He proceeded to laugh at me and told me, I'm a woman, what can I do to him? His abuse then extended towards me, at pretty much any chance he got. Well, I hired my mom a lawyer and changed my program into criminal law, as best as I could, so I could learn everything I could with how the system works. I then handed in evidence and we started to build a case. It took 8 months of collecting evidence through security cameras I set up in the home. L knew of these cameras. I hid nothing and he was aware he was on camera in certain areas of the home. During this time I had already been pre-approved by the bank to purchase his 50% of the house. All he had to do was sign one piece of paper and agree, and within 30 days he could have gotten $250,000. He refused because I wasn't going to get his house when he was going to put my whole family on the street. And yes, it was all caught on camera. L was handed a summons by my lawyer's office to attend court with us. Well, he refused. He said he knew more than the lawyers and was not going to show. Because of this we ended up winning in court and sole possession of the home was given to my mother. All his assets are locked and put under my mom's supervision to prevent him from liquidating assets. He has a restraining order on him from the house and my mom, and he isn't allowed to leave Canada. He was evicted by the police that night, and locks were changed, etc., etc. With him being out of the home, we got my mom onto ODSP, and she was able to finally and safely start treatments because she now had access to the transportation offers through ODSP and the cancer societies. My lawyer and her also broke the joint tenancy on the home and became tenants in common. This is also super important, and pretty much while my mom was still lucid said everything so that if she did pass the house plus everything she owned would come to me. For those who don't know, in Canada, you have 2 options when buying a house. Joint tenants are for married couples who want to split a home 50-50. In these situations, if one passes, the home automatically goes to the spouse. Tenants in common is when you can say buy a house with more than one other party, and everyone owns their equity separately. In the event of a death, they go by the will and that equity can be transferred to whoever is listed. You can Google for more details. In the next 2 years before my mom eventually lost her fight to cancer, we kept going to court with L. He kept refusing to deal or even to sign divorce papers, not taking offers, etc., etc. I became my mom's caregiver and was the one who cared for her in every aspect. Closer to the end, L told not only my lawyer but also the judge in a court settlement meeting that he refuses to sign or deal with anything else. He would also not attend any more meetings because he would wait for my mom to die and take everything. He was told then in court by the judge and lawyers, 2 of them, that it would not happen. He laughed and yeah, that was the last anyone has heard from L. My mom passed away this year, not due to cancer but due to a complication from the cancer. She had a tumor rupture and it caused an upper gastro bleed. She died in my arms. There was nothing I could do for her. I was diagnosed with PTSD from the traumatic event. This is also important, and I still somehow managed to handle everything. L has changed all his contacts and has not updated the courts on his whereabouts. After she passed, my mom's lawyer took her will and we went through the probate court system. Since my mom had been granted sole possession and as per her will and the videos that my lawyer and the judges had all set up prior to her passing, everything was to be transferred to me. I had to sign some paperwork with the judges just agreeing to everything that had been set up, but it was all done legally and properly. I also took all of my mom's medical notes, including the note from the original doctor that spoke about L's outburst and my mom's fears. Unfortunately, both my lawyer and the judge said they can't hold him responsible for her death, but they all do agree that his actions did lead to her death. I am still in court as we speak, to try and push this through to have him criminally held responsible. I know it's a long shot, but I'm still trying. My lawyer is saying it's like a 60-40th chance, but she's seeing what she can do based on the evidence and confessions we have from him. There is a chance, but it is slim. The home and everything she owned got transferred to me. So I am now the registered owner of the house with sole physical possession. I've also been granted her life insurance, which all went to paying off her debt, including their joint line of credit, credit card, etc., and pretty much everything he thought he would be getting by waiting for her to die was given to me and approved by the judge. I have agreed with the courts, because I am not a bad person, that I will honor the 50% buyout that was agreed upon when we started this whole fight. However, any debt he owes me, because he still owns the 50% in equity only, will be deducted from the buyout balance. We will also not be getting the house reappraised because of the renovations this house needs that I will be paying for. He now owes me over $50,000 in debt and climbing based on any renovations I do the home during my ownership, paying off the joint mortgage, and paying off the joint line of credit. My lawyer also wants to go for 50% of all legal fees and 50% of anything I lose due to my PTSD diagnosis from all of this. But they need to find him first. Now, since no one can contact L, my province here in Canada only has a 2-year statutory limit for having claims open in courts. The claim he opened to get the house back has been thrown out in the court system, saying that he has abandoned claim and title. I showed up in court, but he did not. After some internet digging, my friend has found that L has taken off to Mexico and is not even in Canada anymore, which also violates the court order that was placed on him when he was evicted from the home. He was not to leave Canada until things were settled. So that's a whole different story there, and my lawyer is handling that part because that has nothing to do with me. But until he returns, the courts are not worried about really anything. Now, in the event he doesn't return and let's just say he dies in Mexico, my lawyer and the judge has advised me we will just his estate with the court for the 50% equity to be transferred to me in collateral to the debt that is owed. However, I still own the house. I have sole possession, and in all legal aspects, the house belongs to me. If he does come back, he will be facing repercussions for leaving Canada, but if he does try and reopens another claim, he can't. Since the claim was set as abandoned, my lawyer is saying he can't open another one. So he will be stuck in either A, taking the offer, or B, not taking it, and I just do what I wrote above and petition his estate in the courts. But either way, in any situation, he will not be getting back possession of the home. So yeah, at this point I am still going to court to have him held responsible. The courts and lawyers are all on my side, and they were the ones who granted me the house and everything. So I legally took everything from him, because his actions led to my mom's delay in getting treatments and thus killed my mom. Story 2. Rejected a popular guy who hit on me as a joke. I was the weird goth girl in high school. I own it, doesn't bother me at all. Honestly, I see why I was a target for this lol. So sophomore year of high school I get a text from a guy. How he got my number is still a mystery to me, but it gives me the ick. Who was a football player and therefore pretty popular by default. He was very much sliding into my DMs, as we would call it now, but this was 2007, so we still flirted via text lol. He started off by making me guess who he was, which was super weird and an instant red flag. After a lot of back and forth, him being all flirty, he finally told me. I was like WTF, because I hadn't said 2 words to this guy since the 7th grade. Total cold call, but then he starts just your general, oh I think you're really cute, etc. Then after a polite but not very assertive decline, the messages start to get more graphic. Thankfully I was spared any dick pics. He drops the bomb that we should hook up and keeps trying to entice me into coming over. Now I was your typical goth kid who was very anti-conformist, admittedly to a cringy degree, which included wanting nothing to do with jocks. I got super pissed that he was hitting on me at all, especially since he was being super gross about it. So temper got the best of me and basically I tore him a new one and said things like, "You're gross. Why would I want anything to do with you?" Just generally started roasting the hell out of him for something along the lines of being an unoriginal pathetic jock who was going to peak in high school. He did not take this well. Not because he actually liked me and was hurt, but because apparently this was all meant to be a joke where the texts would have been spread around the school to embarrass me. He allegedly had multiple friends over that were in on this at the time. They were trying to also lure me over to his house to collectively laugh at me. As a couple of commenters have pointed out, there may have been even more nefarious plans and could have ended up r*ped for all I know, had I gone over. If you'd known them, you'd agree these guys were the type. Basically his plan backfired in the worst possible way. To make matters worse for him, his friends started laughing at him and then leaked the texts, saying he was clearly a loser because he just got rejected by the school weirdo. This was perpetuated even further by my friends because they were so mad at what he was trying to do to me. They spread that shit to anyone who would listen. As you can see, in the end, the revenge was done unintentionally on my end and then continued by his own friends plus mine from there on out. Seriously, I don't know how you recover from getting rejected by high school me. Rip your reputation, my guy. Thanks for reading, hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Edit. To anyone who thinks I'm toxic because of my reaction, I will make it clear that I did tell him multiple times before it got graphic that I don't do the dating thing while in high school, which was 100% true. The gross texts were just my breaking point because he crossed a boundary I had made clear and was being disrespected, even if he had genuinely liked me. Thank you and good night. Edit 2. People have been asking if he actually did peak in high school. I don't know much about what's going on in his life because his FB is private, but I can tell you he's 32 with a massive receding hairline and really let himself go lol.